What's up? My name is Ken Dumbo, the MC with the sauce. Don't forget to subscribe to JCool.
Zambia's Attorney General has filed a public interest lawsuit in the Gauteng division of the High Court of South Africa. Now, the suit is directed against members of the late Zambian president's family and two other individuals seeking an interim court order to prevent that, no burial should take place until disputes surrounding the former leader's final resting place are resolved. Now, several of Edgar Lungu's family members, alongside the funeral service company holding his remains, are named in the lawsuit filed by Zambia's Attorney General Mulilo Kabesha. Kabesha says that the former president should be buried in Zambia with full military honors in line with Zambian law and traditions. He argues that state funerals are national events governed by strict protocols and that the public must take priority over personal wishes. The case is expected to take place at the Pretoria High Court tomorrow morning. We're now joined by SABC News International Editor Sophie Mkwena. Very good evening to you, Sophie. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the late edition. First of all, can you walk us through the legal basis of the Zambian Attorney General's lawsuit filed in South Africa? I mean, why was the case filed in the Gauteng division of the High Court in Pretoria specifically, rather than in a Zambian court? What are the main arguments made by the AG in this case?
The body of former President Edgar Lungu is in South Africa. The funeral will be held in South Africa tomorrow. And therefore, that is why the Attorney General came to the South African court to present the case by the government of Zambia. I think that's the reason. On the issue of what are the arguments are that one, former President Edgar Lungu has to be buried in terms of the protocols and the laws of that country as they relate to a former president. And secondly, they are arguing that it is in the public interest because he was a public figure. They are citing a case study or case law based on the ruling by the Zambian court when the former president, the founding father of Zambia, Dr. KK Kaunda, passed on. His family wanted former President Kaunda to be buried in his farm where his wife is buried. But that matter had to be taken to court, as at that time the government of Edgar Lungu challenged the family of KK Kaunda on the same basis of public interest and that a former head of state, a founding father of the nation, must be buried at Embassy Park, which is perhaps what we can call Heroes Acre. Now, that is the argument on both sides. But the family of the late former President Edgar Lungu is adamant that they want him to be buried here because he had indicated before he passed on that he doesn't want to see the current president, HH, anywhere near his body or coffin.
And I suppose this is one of the issues that, that we yet to hear to be ventilated in court.
The wish of the late former President Edgar Lungu.
Got you. And I suppose that's one of the issues that we hear to be ventilated in court, whether there was an official wish to be buried where he wished to be buried. And are there any precedents in Zambian law or history where a head of state was not buried on Zambian soil? I mean, what does the Zambian law even say about the burial of a former head of state? But, and put differently, are military honors and national burial mandatory?
For the sitting head of state and the former head of state, the military is a military conducted by, it's a military funeral, just like in South Africa. The South African policy and protocol as it relates to the passing on of a sitting president and a former president is that the military takes over because both are being categorized as state funeral and the state takes over. Now, in Zambia, they have a similar arrangement in terms of the passing on or the funeral of the sitting head of state or the former president. But this matter in court, the technicality is going to be in South Africa. The laws of this country are saying you hand over a body to the next of kin. That is why at times they even have to undergo DNA tests if it's someone outside of the country to ensure that the body is handed over to the family and the right people.
Right.
So I think that is going to be South Africa's argument, that this is how we deal with it. Remember, he's not a former head of state of South Africa. So it's not binding for South Africa to be in line with the rules and the laws of Zambia in terms of what must happen. And I think that
we're out of time, unfortunately, Sophie.
Is going to be.
Yeah, we're out of time, unfortunately. But just following this case closely, Sophie, I mean, it's safe to assume that there's more to this case than just burial wishes and official protocol. Are there any political undertones or even tensions connected to this legal dispute, considering Dr. Lungu's political legacy?
Massive political issues here. You know that Edgar Lungu, when he was the president of Zambia, had a serious standoff with the current president, Hichilema Hakainde, because they were contesting elections all the time. And when they were contesting, the contest was acrimonious. And finally, at some point in time, the law enforcement agencies even arrested Hakainde Hichilema many times. So that relationship was not there at all. It was tense. Even during the funeral of KK, Hichilema Hakainde, the opposition leader, was not even allowed to be part of the official program or mourners, while KK had at that time endorsed him. So it's a political tension. And then when Lungu left office, then later there were allegations and reports that HA is ill-treating him. He wanted to come to South Africa for treatment. He was not allowed. Allegations denied by the Zambian government. But really, truth be told, the relationship was very frosty. And Edgar Lungu was in the country for treatment, but he had already bought a house. The family was already here. So he was in exile, so to put it, because we are told he had no intention to return to Zambia until after elections. And I think that is why now this tension, and because this is on the eve of the election, therefore the two groups, and that would include his party, will want what they want. And now there's this tension, and South Africa is now caught in a crossfire. Unfortunately, there's a burial order, there's a death certificate, there's a grave, and I am saying in line with the South African law, South Africa is not binded or compelled by the Zambian law to heed the call of stopping the funeral, because the laws in South Africa say give the body to the next of kin. Make sure these are the people who are supposed to have the body. And that's what South Africa is doing.
Sophie, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for your details. We do appreciate your time. That was Sophie Mkwena, SABC News International Editor, reacting to Zambia's Attorney General having filed a public interest lawsuit in the Gauteng division of the High Court in South Africa. And the suit is directed against members of the Zambian president's family.
Let me know what you think about this video. Thanks for tuning in to JQ News. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for the latest updates on tech, politics, and everything in between. Until next time, stay cool.